We're recording. It's a new year. It's 2019. It's time for reviews. Let's go. There are going to be some spoilers in this review, so if you really don't want to know what's going to happen before watching the film, I would suggest go watch the film, join me back here and see what you think. So today we're talking Birdbox, which is a Netflix original film starring Sandra Bullock. This film was introduced to me by various sources on social media. I saw posts, comments here saying Birdbox this, Birdbox that, people saying it's good, people saying it's not so good, so I thought I'd have to watch it for myself and see, just to make my mind up, because it seemed like every man and their dog had watched it and I had yet to watch it. So I thought, I'll bite the bullet, I'll watch it on the 31st, make it the last film that I watch, just to either go out on a high or a low or a meh, we'll see. I really enjoyed this film. Looking at reviews from people saying that they didn't enjoy it and the things that they're saying, I can't really understand myself, but I really did enjoy this film. The world is plagued by a presence that is making people commit suicide, and the plot of this film follows a lady called Mallory, played by Sandra Bullock, and how she looks to survive through this with a group of others that she comes across through the mass hysteria of the original outbreak of when it first happens within the town that she's in. So this film cuts between present day and a series of flashbacks which shows the audience on how we led to where we are in present day. So there's, I would say, the 2/3 of the film are interconnected with these present day shots and flashbacks, and the majority of the film, for at least the two-thirds of it, are consumed by the flashbacks on how we got to where we are. So the start of the film really kind of sets the tone for what this film is. The start of this film starts with Sandra Bullock, almost like a military leader, giving two very young children extreme orders in a very violent way on how they need to be and what they need to do. So from the outset of this film, you get a sense of what kind of a character this person is, or what type of a person in general this person is, just by the way that she's speaking to these very innocent, very cute, very adorable looking children, and the way that she interacts with them. So you understand where she is immediately at the start of this film. The journey that these three characters go on from that point to the end of the film, like I said, is interspersed through flashbacks. Now what the flashbacks do is they give us a sense of how it all began and how they got to where they are. So essentially how it all begins is an outbreak that happens somewhere over in Russia that they hear on the news. Mallory and her sister, played by Sarah Paulson, are discussing Mallory's life as she is pregnant and due to give birth relatively soon. They go to the hospital for a checkup, and on their way back the hysteria and the panic kicks in. Now what happens is that Sarah Paulson's character, who is the sister of Sandra Bullock, immediately succumbs to this presence and attempts to kill herself with her in the car. She gets out after failing that attempt and jumps in front of a moving truck in front of her sister, which is quite horrific to see straight away. But then when you look around, everyone is pretty much doing the same thing, that everyone that's been caught by this presence. Mallory eventually finds refuge within a house with a group of people that the homeowner is taken in. The rest of the flashbacks focus on these characters, around their relationship, around the way that they handle the outbreak, around the way they cope with surviving, and ways in which they try to overcome the presence that's there. And whilst it's flicking from the present day and the flashbacks, you kind of get a real sense of how this character of Mallory is built up to where she is in present day. In present day, the story that is being followed is Mallory is taking these two children on a boat ride down a river. Now, the whole time, I've neglected to say this actually, but the entire time that anyone is outdoors in this film, apart from the start of the outbreak, everyone is blindfolded. This is so that they don't see the presence and commit suicide and kill themselves. So whenever anyone is outside to protect themselves, they blindfold themselves. And this is the same in present day, and this is the same in the flashbacks, and this is one of the biggest hurdle that everyone has to overcome in order to survive. So the present day story, like I said, they're on a boat ride down a river to a sanctuary that they've heard about that is safe from everywhere else in the world, and that people can live and people are living there. So their story leads them down there. The flashback story, like I said, leads up to that point and does a lot of character building. So there are a couple of characters within the flashbacks that are completely deplorable. There are some that are really likeable, and there are some that are they're just there for their sake. So within these flashbacks, as I said before, Mallory is pregnant. She actually gives birth to her baby alongside another pregnant woman that is within the group that give birth to a baby. These are the two children that you see in the present day. So you almost kind of get a sense of, almost kind of know what's coming, but you don't know the ins and outs of it, which is why it's so cleverly done with the flashbacks, I think. And that's essentially the plot, is basically how they get from the start to the finish, but not in a linear pattern. As I said before, I really, really enjoyed this film. One of the things that I found really enjoyable about it is that it's out there enough to be considered as a science fiction film. It's 100% a science fiction film, but it's grounded enough to give it a sense of realism. And I think that's emphasised by Sandra Bullock. I think that she is an absolute powerhouse in this film. Her performance is bang on, and you really feel the struggle that this person has as a human being, emotionally, physically, throughout this film. She delivers a top-notch performance throughout. It's not just Sandra Bullock that is on point in this film. The entire cast are brilliant. John Malkovich plays a character solely in the flashback scenes who basically no one likes. He says what everyone's thinking and everyone hates him for it. He has a certain charm about him, but ultimately he is the person that no one really likes, and everyone would be happy to not have him there. His performance of this type of character is perfect. You instantly dislike him, but you understand why he is the way that he is because of everything that's happening around him. And John Malkovich again gives a stellar performance throughout this film. The thing that I think I enjoyed the most about this film, apart from the great acting, apart from the story, apart from the cinematography, which is again great, is the character of Mallory herself, played by Sandra Bullock. And again, it ties into her performance, but this character's journey really does make this film what it is. At the start of this film, she is a very cold, calculated person who has deliberately shut herself away from the world, really. She does obviously find herself pregnant, and she's having to deal with the complications of becoming a mother who she doesn't believe that she will connect with her baby, and then this happening. So following the journey of this character is really, really interesting, and like I said, Sandra Bullock plays it absolutely perfectly. With that brings quite a lot of interesting scenes within the film. A few of those scenes are really quite emotional, and I will throw out there right now that this film actually did make me cry not once but twice. And another one of those scenes is actually really quite distressing. So only a few weeks ago, my wife recently gave birth to our second baby, so I don't know if it's still quite raw from that perspective, but there is a scene just after the babies that are born that is really, really distressing. Even though you know that the babies are okay because you've seen them in present day, there is a scene in it that it almost makes you hold your breath, and I would say that it made me feel really uncomfortable. And once the scene was over, I turned to my wife when we were watching. I said, that was really, really difficult to watch. I don't know about you. And she agreed with me. But again, I don't know whether it's not because we've just had another baby. But it's things like that that get you really invested in this type of film. And I think that this film relies on those kind of things, and they pay off in abundance. As I said, towards the end, there is a really emotional few emotional scenes actually, with Sandra Bullock and the children. And what it showcases really well, I think, is Mallory's growth in this film from right at the start to right at the end, whereas she's had to deal with survival throughout the entirety of these children's lives. These children haven't had a chance to live a normal life, a normal childhood. They've had to survive their entire life. They've not lived at all, they've just survived. And a few scenes within this film show the way that Mallory has matured throughout this film, and it's really, really emotional to watch. And as I said a few times, it made me cry. There is a moment that's very, very similar to Sophie's Choice, and a moment right at the end where it really kind of builds up to, not a crescendo of sorts, but it builds up to a scene where one of the children is lost and she bears a soul out to try and get this child back, which really shows the growth of this character, that she's not just doing this just because she knows she has to survive. She's doing it because she loves her children. And it's really, really well acted, and I think it's a testament to Sandra Bullock and her acting ability. The film isn't without its faults at all. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that this is a perfect movie. There are a few things in this film that I couldn't ignore due to how blatantly obvious they were. So, as I said, when most people, nearly all people, see this presence, they immediately want to kill themselves and are successful in doing so. However, there are a group of people that for some reason don't kill themselves. They just get taken over, and they almost kind of, it's almost kind of a religious experience for them, and their sole mission now is to make others see this and either convert to one of them or kill themselves in the process. One of the annoyances for me in this film is it doesn't explain why those people don't kill themselves or what's different about them to everyone else. It's never really explained. I think it's almost mused on a little bit, where a member of the group mentions that a group of people from a mental asylum didn't get taken over, so you could say that it could just be crazy people, but who defines what crazy is? So it doesn't really kind of categorize why some people get taken over and kill themselves and some people get taken over and act as this religious cult that try to get everyone else to convert. Overall though, I really enjoyed the film. I really enjoyed the story, I really enjoyed the cinematography, and I really, really enjoyed the performances. And I know I've said it a few times, but Sandra Bullock in this was brilliant. It's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not going to wow everyone. It doesn't wow everyone, and this is witnessed by social media. Go onto any social media over the last couple of weeks and you will see people either really praising it or slating it. It is a very divisive movie, so make your own mind up. Let us know what you thought of the film. Pop a comment in the comment section below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. We've got some great films coming out this year and I'm really excited to do some reviews for them. I can't wait to see what they're like. And make sure you give our Instagram account a quick follow as well. We're updating that pretty much daily for you. Peace!